Yo, what's good, Complex Force gang? We're back with another reaction. You got the homie RJ, you know, yours truly, Complexz Melvin, up in here today. So we got 3 disturbing true Christmas stories by Mr. Nightmare. You know, it's almost Christmas time. This video is probably going to be uploaded around like December, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, something like that. December is only like a day away, damn near. It's basically a day away. So what better way to get into the Christmas spirit with 3 disturbing true Christmas horror stories. So let's check it out. Hope y'all enjoy. Let's get it.
It was a cold December night a week before Christmas. My family always does Christmas in our Hamptons, New York summer house. The Hamptons are always quiet this time of year, as a large chunk of the real estate there is owned by rich people who have 2 or 3 other houses elsewhere in the country. My dad and I were at the house first before the rest of my family, as my mom and sister still had work until the next weekend. My dad was retired at the time, and school was over for winter break for me, so we wanted to just go to the Hamptons house early. We all have our own bedrooms in this house, which sits on a quiet dead-end road. My dad turned on the heat and water and all that stuff that he always has to take care of when we return for the first time in months. I brought my PS3 to play in my room. I spent most of the first day there playing video games. On that first night we were there was a big snowstorm. Another reason we wanted to come early, to beat the crappy road conditions that would come for days after the storm. The next morning when I woke up and went out to the kitchen, my dad asked me when I built the snowman. I responded, "What do you mean?" He said the snowman in the backyard. I went to look out the window, and there was at least 2 feet of fresh snow. But there was also a snowman sitting in our backyard. It had 2 sticks for arms angled up into the air, and it had eyes and a smile carved into the head. The eyes and mouth side was facing the window. I said to my dad I didn't build that. My dad laughed and said, "Must be the neighbor kids." My dad thought it was an innocent joke, so I did as well. The next night is where things got bad, though. I was in bed asleep, and suddenly woke up to a distinct thump on my window. I was terrified. I pulled the blankets over myself to hide, to not be in view of whoever might be out there.
Intruder or some shit.
But after 5 minutes, I started to wonder maybe it was snow that fell off the roof and blew into the window. I got up to peek out the window. I screamed, because at first, I thought what I saw was a person.
Ain't you pulling out the strap if someone's knocking on your window, bro?
Yep.
Like, fuck all that.
But it was actually another snowman, standing right outside my window.
Oh, hell no.
There was an angry frown on this one instead of a smiling face. I screamed for my dad, and he came rushing inside. I pointed at the window, and this time he wasn't happy.
Fucking angry.
He said he would go next door in the morning and talk to the kids' parents.
Fuck?
I slept in my sister's room the rest of that night. The next morning, my dad went next door and rang the bell. But they weren't home. There were no cars in the driveway. That meant they weren't even in town. That was the only nearby house with kids in it, so this didn't exactly help explain the situation. For 5 or 6 days straight, nothing else happened until Christmas Eve night. The rest of our immediate family, plus all 4 of our grandparents, were now in the house.
Damn, look
we were in the living room. This was before dinner, but it was already dark
rich
out.
White people
Someone knocked on the front door instead of using the doorbell. We weren't expecting any other family. I started to get nervous. My dad went over and asked, "Who is it?" Someone on the other side of the door started saying, "Please let me in, I need help." The door has no peephole or windows, nor are there any windows that would allow us to see who was on the other side of the door. My dad asked what's wrong, and the voice on the other side said, "I have no one to spend Christmas with, please help me."
Oh, hell no, bro.
We all looked at each other.
It sounds like a personal problem, man.
Please leave before we call the police.
This ain't no Christmas carol.
The person on the other side said, "Okay, I'll leave. Please don't call the police." He never opened the door. We instantly tied this to the creepy snowman.
Hey, good job by your dad, bro, not letting some random ass motherfucker in the house.
On Christmas morning, there was a note taped to our front door. It said, "To the best of my memory, I just wanted to have a little fun. I built the snowman for the boy in the house. I don't have anyone to spend the holiday with. Hurt."
Bro, that sounds like
one way or another, I think whoever left that note on our door and built those 2 snowmen was mentally ill or unstable. It's very unlikely that it was meant to be a joke, considering he came to our front door. I think he was dangerous, and even if he wasn't inherently hostile, the fact that he did what he did is just enough for him to be considered somebody none of us wanted to meet.
Yeah, we're doing all that shit, man. That's weird, bro. Like, go spend Christmas. I don't fucking know. Spend Christmas by yourself, dude.
It was Christmas of 2016. My name is Andre, and at the time I was 21 years old. Our family was all at our Uncle Joshua's place for the holidays. Well, it was Christmas Eve. My immediate family, plus my cousins and other close family, decided let's go to my uncle and aunt's place in downtown Miami. We come from Connecticut, so we're not used to warm weather around the holidays. It was Friday, the day before Christmas Eve. My brother Nico and I, being young single males and being in Miami, wanted to go out. We were hearing about a bunch of Christmas-themed parties going on at clubs and bars. Nico was 18 at the time, but he had a fake ID, so we figured he'd be alright. We went to this one club on Miami Beach that was having a Christmas-themed event. Mostly everyone online was wearing Santa hats, so it felt festive. But it was all a waste of time because at the front of the line, the bouncer not only told us it would be $100 to get in, but he also called Nico out on his fake ID. So we tried a bar not too far away, and we got into this one. There were some people wearing Santa hats here too. I guess that was expected on the weekend of Christmas. While we were at the bar, this older woman started talking to Nico. I overheard most of their conversation. The woman appeared to be mid-40s, and I heard her keep telling my brother how she has such a thing for younger guys with Hispanic accents. To be honest, it sounded kinda creepy and weird, but Nico was probably blinded by the fact that a woman was hitting on him. I just let him do his thing.
Shit, I'd tap if
the
she
woman
was
wearing
fine.
a blue
If she
Santa
wasn't, bro,
and
bitch,
had on
get
this sexually
away from me.
provocative Christmas sweater.
She was fine?
The two of them were talking for so long that I ended up making friends with the guy sitting next to me at the bar. Then suddenly Nico patted me on my shoulder and said he's gonna leave with the woman. I told him all right. I was happy for him, I guess. I stayed at the bar not much longer after that. Then I just called an Uber back to my uncle's, assuming Nico would be spending the night with the woman. I was mid-Uber ride when my phone rang. Nico was calling me. I picked up to static.
Watch her fuck
It
around
sounded
and
as though
kill you,
maybe he
bro.
pocket dialed me. But I heard a male's voice in the background that didn't sound like my brother.
Oh, nah, they
And then
kidnapped,
suddenly
bro. I
another
knew
male's voice could be
it.
heard yelling.
I fucking,
I
bro,
said
I
Nico's
knew
name
it.
over and over, trying for acknowledgement.
I should probably
The call
chill
eventually
on the yelling. I
disconnected.
don't know if my mom's in bed.
Obviously,
or not.
this was a pretty concerning
But
phone
nah,
call.
I literally
I was
called
under
that
the
shit.
impression he was alone with a woman. I tried calling him like 10 times.
I fucking
Finally,
knew
someone
it,
picked
bro.
up. But it wasn't Nico. It was the voice of some older man with an extremely deep voice. When I asked who this was, he said he found this phone on the sidewalk. I asked him if he could drop the phone off at my uncle's place or if he could meet me somewhere. He didn't answer that. I just heard talking in the
Nah,
background.
they kidnapped your
And then
brother, bro.
I heard screaming. It was Nico's voice in the background, screaming
I
my
fucking
name,
knew
screaming help. Then the call disconnected. I asked the Uber driver to pull over, as I was freaking out trying to call anyone in my family. It was late, no one was picking up. I explained the situation to the driver, and he advised I call the police immediately. That's what I did. The police came to my uncle's place, where I woke my family up, informing them that Nico was in trouble. I had to give my best description of the woman's appearance from the bar and what time he left the bar.
Shit.
Then, my dad and I, along with the police,
They
went to
fucking
the bar
set
that we
bro
were
up.
at,
That's
and it was
crazy.
then that I got a phone call from a random number. It was Nico. He was out of breath, gasping into the phone, explaining that he was kidnapped and barely escaped. He was currently using a stranger's phone. All of us went to Nico's location, which was a sketchy street somewhere in North Miami. When we found him, his face was a bloody mess. He had 2 black eyes, and all of his possessions that he had on him were stolen. He gave his whole story. He left with the woman who claimed to have called an Uber or Lyft.
Shit, the only
The
way I'm
alleged
leaving
ride
is
arrived
if
at
it's in my car, bro. Fuck all that shit.
Her pickup point, which was in some quiet back alley area. Nico found out once inside the car that it wasn't in fact an Uber. It was a trap. There were 2 men in the car who immediately held him down and threatened to shoot him if he didn't keep quiet. They started to drive for a while, and during this time, one of the men called my number, and they threatened
robbed
to
your
harm
ass,
him if
bro.
he yelled out anything, which he did, and that explained the bloody face and black eyes. They broke his phone, took his wallet, keys, and whatever else was on
Yep,
him.
they fucking.
As the car was
Damn.
stopped and he wasn't being held down anymore, he ran for it out of the car. They didn't chase him, the car just sped off and disappeared. He said he believed they were going to kill him and dump his body somewhere if
Fuck,
he
I
didn't
wouldn't
run.
go out like that, bro.
Police apparently were never able to identify the woman who appeared in the video footage from the bar. Nico said none of the men were wearing masks,
I would have
or for a
wanted to
reason he
whoop
thought
that
they'd
bitch's
killed him.
ass, man.
This completely ruined the entire holiday weekend, but we were all just happy he was alive. On Christmas night, we were all awoken to Nico's screams in the middle of the night.
Yo, what the fuck?
He was screaming, "She's in the house."
Oh,
I woke him
fuck.
up from whatever nightmare he was having. I have to say though, him screaming "she's in the house" made me think back to her creepy smile and made me sleep with one eye open that night.
Ugh. So I wouldn't sleep at all, bro. I'll stay up playing PS2 games. Fuck that shit.
I bought a small house with my brother George a couple years back. We hosted Christmas the first year we lived in the house, just as a way of getting the family to see the place and getting everyone together for the first time in forever. We don't have the biggest family in the world, so it was the two of us, our parents, our aunt and uncle, cousin, and our sister and two nephews. Our sister came with our nephews and her husband first to help us out with the cooking and preparing. They brought their dog Mika along as well. Since they lived 2 hours away, they were going to be spending the night at our house. The rest of our family lives under an hour away, so they wouldn't be staying. Not that that house would have much more room for additional people staying over anyway. During our Christmas dinner, at one point we talked about some of the murders that happened in our area recently.
Wow,
Bodies had been found in the woods in our county. It wasn't a topic that we kept going long, as our mom and my sister wanted us to drop it for the sake of the holiday and the
kids. Why y'all talking
kids.
about murders and shit?
After dinner, we all had
Christmas?
some wine in the living room with a Christmas movie on in the background as we talked. After a few hours, the family started to slowly leave, until it was just my brother and
Michigan
I,
beat
and my
Ohio
sister,
State
her
or some
husband, and her
shit. I don't
kids.
fucking know.
The kids went to bed before us. The four of us stayed up later having more wine. My girlfriend ended up coming over past 10 to spend the rest of the night with me, since all of her family had gone home. Eventually, Christmas night was over, and it was time to go to bed. I woke up to my girlfriend shaking me. The room was still dark. I groggily looked at the clock next to my bed, and it said 2-something a.m.
in the corner.
I asked my girlfriend what the issue was, and she whispered, "Listen." I listened and heard Mika out in the hall growling. I got out of bed and entered the hall to see what was going on. Then I saw that the back door to our house was wide open, and a breeze of cold air started to hit me in the
Not lock
face.
the door, dude?
Mika was looking out the door. I checked if anyone was out there, and as I was at the back door, I heard my brother's voice call out my name from the darkness outside. He sounded like he was far away in the woods. I was worried he was in trouble or needed help with something. I went back to my room to tell my girlfriend, as I put my shoes and coat on. I stepped outside with a flashlight. There was a light dusting of snow on the ground, enough to see footmarks leading from the back door down to the back deck towards the woods. I yelled back George's name very loudly. I heard his voice call back my name. It was confirmed he was in the woods now. But oddly, as I entered the woods, his footprints slowly faded and got harder to see, until they were just impossible to continue following entirely. I screamed back at the top of my lungs, "Where are you?
I can't
What's
live
wrong?"
in places like that, bro.
I once again heard George's voice call back just my name. Every time he called me, his voice was the same distance away. I was uncomfortable getting any further away from my house because I didn't want to get lost in the woods. I tried finally calling George's phone, but he didn't pick up.
Bro, I would have
I
whooped
continued
George's
a little
ass,
further
man,
into
doing
the
all
woods,
that shit,
but
bro.
now George's yelling stopped. As much as I yelled out into the woods, there was dead silence.
Bro,
Not
lock
even the
y'all
sound of a
doors,
bug in
man.
the
What the
freezing
fuck?
cold.
Why is this even
Just
happening?
the sound of the light
Why?
breeze, and suddenly my phone rang. I was hopeful it was George, but it was my girlfriend. I picked up, and she said, "Chet, George is in his bedroom right now."
Oh, hell no, bro. Get your dumb
What?
ass back
I
inside,
said.
cuz.
That didn't make any sense.
You should have been.
I was hearing his voice this entire time in the woods.
Dumbass motherfucker.
I asked her to check if my sister's husband was also still on one of the pull-out couches, and 30 seconds later, she said yes. Suddenly, I felt like I wasn't alone in the woods, like anyone was about to grab me from any direction. I turned back the way I came and started running as fast as I could.
Bro.
I didn't stop until I saw the backyard light from my house becoming more visible through the trees. I made it back to my house, and everyone was awake now. George and everyone else had a look of horror on their faces when I explained that Mika was growling, looking at the wide open back door, and the fact that there were footprints leading into
Someone
the woods.
tried to rob your ass.
But the scariest part was that I thought for sure that the voice I was hearing was that of George, and whoever it was knew my name. We contemplated calling the police for half an hour, and then ended up doing so. A police officer came and just asked us any questions like if anything was stolen, if we know anyone that may mean us harm, etc. Then within half an hour, and after telling us to call back if anything else happens, he left. I don't know if I think this had anything to do with the murders that were going on at this time in our county.
Shit, probably.
But I did think it was worth mentioning in the story. Nothing else did ever happen after that night, but we can't for the life of us logically explain any of this. I'm still scared to go in or near the woods past dark.
Shit, I wouldn't. Fuck is wrong with y'all, bro? Y'all be doing some stupid fucking shit, bro. Damn, y'all be pissing me off in these damn story times, bro. Not stories, scary stories, bro. Like, man, carry a gun, bro, and you're good to go. I ain't gonna lie to you,
Facts.
like what the fuck? Hey, but we're out of here, bro. RJ, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Nope.
All right, man, we're out. Peace.